he was in charge of the way things were going because he was the first one on the scene, so it was his decision. So when the taser was deployed, he wasn't even the one to deploy the taser. To me, that's a little concerning because there wasn't an opportunity to kind of see, hey, check in, where are we? Should we be taking this person? Should we take it? He started pushing him against the, a wall. He probably was the plan, I'm sure, was to arrest him. I just don't know if those numerous rounds of tasering was the means to the end. And I don't know how to wrap my mind around it. And I also have to think of the position of Officer B because he's in a space where if he feels like his fellow officer is being threatened, he does have a duty not only to protect his fellow officer but himself. So I can understand that and feeling the need to use a little more force. My concern is when he drops to the ground and the taser is still deployed with one arm behind his back. That was really concerning to me because I just didn't understand. And it was kind of like, back up, I'm going to taser him one more time. Maybe to me it was kind of like, he's going to get the message. You need to, like that. He's on his belly. So I don't know what he do. He's picking his legs. He has 3 grown men on top of him. So that was a little concerning for me.
I have a question for a training officer. Is there a discussion when someone is flailing, moving around a lot in regards to using the taser or not using the taser, but it might be difficult to hit that? I don't know if hit's not the correct term, but
from the distance he was at,
yeah,
it probably wouldn't be difficult to get the probes on target. Mm-hmm. And 3-on-1 is a advantageous number for us, but I've been on calls where there's been very slightly built people with 7 or 8 officers on top of it takes minutes. So in a situation like that where someone is perceived to be violent or acting in a violent manner, right, sometimes a taser could be the best method to subdue them temporarily to get them in custody.
and this only comes from experience in working in psychiatric hospitals, is that generally the goal was to use as many bodies as possible to get the person in a position where they were safe, not getting hurt, but still. And usually we had more than 3 in that situation, so I understand that. So my question is, by using the taser, you're taking one of your hands off of a person, and where you could help restrain them, right? If you're making that choice, I guess, and I'm not an officer, and I'm only using the experience. I didn't have a taser as an option anyway. But it does seem to me that you're removing an opportunity to restrain a person by using a taser. And you're kind of limiting yourself in regards to restraining that person as a possibility. And again, I don't know, with 3 people, maybe different than when we did it. We usually had more than that.
It's also a different environment.
Right.
Hospital environment with limited access to implements and training and tactics. And it's on a street. The felon apparently had not been searched at that point. We don't know what the situation is. Oftentimes we know people we don't encounter on a regular basis. I imagine the hospital setting there's some familiarity involved also. So there are some similarities, but also some striking differences also. The advantage of the taser, when deployed appropriately and properly, is it can temporarily incapacitate a person to stop the fight so that
So like a metal, or their body kind of stops.
Well, when the electricity interacts, it causes muscle contractions, and the sensation is pretty overwhelming. I've been tased for my training too, and it's not a pleasant experience. Right. And it can incapacitate someone's ability to fight temporarily while the electricity is being delivered. Which, as part of our training, we take that opportunity to take someone into custody or place the handcuffs on to end the struggle as quickly as possible.
In some cases, it might have the opposite effect in regards to increasing agitation and movement. Is that possible?
Sometimes it does, not in my experience. The people that it does not affect in that manner, that it may escalate them, are typically at an extreme level of crisis, and that's even more urgent to get them into custody quickly to avoid a prolonged struggle where someone's more likely to get hurt.
And then one question for the appellant is, I don't know if I read it anywhere, if you said exactly how many times that you were tased, if that's the correct term? Do you remember? I don't know.
I had probes removed from my back, so that one was a 5-second shot.
Okay.
And they're not supposed to do it from within 10 feet, like Mr. Hanlon said. And he was standing right over me with the other 2 officers holding me down on the ground. The one right prior to that was in the back of my left knee, and I think that was 5 seconds. And then when I was standing, he did a what do you call a warning arc, but I could find that nowhere in policy. So maybe you'd ask the training supervisor if there is such a thing as a warning arc.
So you felt when you were standing up again, is what you're saying?
No, when he first approached me, he did a warning arc. It's in his statement.
Oh, when it first, okay.
And it was up in my face, and it says that you're not supposed to do it near the eyes, the head, or in sensitive areas, i.e. genitalia. Well, he put it right up in my face. Officer B put it right up in my face and sparked it. And it went off the second, the first one. And that's why I started swearing. That's crazy. What the hell? That's my eyesight. So you can see as I'm falling to the ground, I'm covering my face, and specifically my eyes.
I'm curious if part of the debrief what did include proximity or body parts in this situation.
So if we did a debrief regarding the taser use, what would?
Yeah, in this case, was that part of the
We haven't done it yet.
Okay.
So the debriefing waits until after.
Sorry, I guess, so was part of the consideration to include a debrief here, in part because of concerns about proximity?
Well, primarily it was concerns about the ability for us to get to the point where we get to a CRC hearing and not have figured out how many times we actually activated the taser, and that was first and foremost. Also, the idea that we had a taser that maybe we're going to have to take extra steps to be very careful about our indexing of fingers. I could debrief just about every little step of the taser application in this. But ultimately, when we get this, if we end up doing a debrief, we'll put whatever's in there that comes down as a recommendation.
But when you came up with the finding of exonerated with debriefing, it was concerns about the not being able to determine how many times the taser had been used, kind of the faulty trigger?
Yeah, I was concerned about that. I said, I'm very concerned about the ability of an officer to put his finger alongside this taser and say, I'll activate it for 1 second, and he not know that he did. Okay, that's my main primary concern.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question from the appellant here. And this is just a clarification. You just stated that you heard the warning before deployment. Did I hear that correctly?
Officer B in his statement discusses performing a warning arc. I don't recall the taser warning prior to that. You can hear me screaming at him, telling him he's an idiot, basically, and falling to the ground, and at which point I did hear taser. I'm just not sure if it was before the first, whatever is described as a warning arc.
This is just from my own, but why didn't you cooperate? That was a great question.
I had my hands up. I did cooperate. I followed their only command. I turned around. They approached me. The video was from the rest. He did a warning arc up. Officer B did a warning arc up in my face. That was, you saw the video. I mean, it literally, like the witness said, they manhandled me, and the other witness said, it was over very quickly. You saw 30 seconds of video. There wasn't a whole lot more to it.
Any other thoughts? Are we ready to make a motion?
I don't think this view has maybe been articulated, so I think I might be in the minority, but I think that I would, I don't think I would challenge this finding. I think that that's a really tough video to watch. I think that it did show that the appellant did kick one of the officers, was moving his legs. You see one of the officers come off of him while they're on the ground. It bothers me a lot. I agree with Ms. Gord. It bothers me a lot that he was tased. I think the third time, I'm trying to track the description of them, but the last intentional tase, it's hard for me to say, whoa, I'm not sure that one was necessary, but I feel like that questioning gets beyond our standard of review, which is just whether they could reasonably come to the conclusion. And because there is evidence from the officers and sergeant's testimony as well as the video that showed that there was some struggle, there was some conflict. The use of force was not escalated. It was the same level of force. Not to say that that force wasn't significant, it obviously was. But based on all of that evidence, the RU manager determined that, oh, and also one of the officers, the officer issued, did testify that he believed that before his last tase, the last time he tased the appellant, that the appellant's resistance was starting to overpower the sergeant and the other officer. And so if he did believe that and then tased him again,